Are you listening? Damn.
Welcome to another episode of the Nerf Report. My name is Bryant Chappel. If it's your first time here, welcome. The show is extremely simple. Every single week, we take all the week's gaming, geek, and nerd news, nerf it down into one show once a week for you, the audience. If you think that sounds awesome, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you're new here and haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. Just like this week's subscriber of the week did, Jabro Gaming. Jabro has been a long-time subscriber, but this week sent me a photo of his brand new Nerf Report hoodie. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, Jabro. And if you need more Nerf Report in your life, head on over to Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, where you can get more gaming news throughout the week. And of course, on this week's episode, Nintendo has announced the final roster of characters in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, so we head over to the rundown to hold a post-mortem for all the characters that didn't make the cut. And finally, our main story for this week, Blizzcon is the hottest ticket in town, so we review all of the major news and announcements coming out of the opening ceremony. But before we cover any of that, here's your top headlines. Red Dead Redemption 2, 2018's Breath of the Wild, Overwatch, Dragon Age, and Witcher 3. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is you're looking at Game of the Year right here. Rockstar Games and Take-Two Interactive revealed this week that in its first 3 days, Red Dead Redemption 2 had made more than $725 million. And if we say the average copy of a game costs $60, that's over 12 million copies of Red Dead Redemption 2 sold in its first 3 days. Now that number makes Red Dead Redemption 2 the second highest grossing entertainment launch of all time, right behind Rockstar Games' other video game, don't know if you heard of it, Grand Theft Auto 5. In fact, during Grand Theft Auto 5's first 24 hours, it made over $815 million, eventually reaching $1 billion in sales in its first 3 days. And at this point, it's starting to look like if you slap a Rockstar logo on anything, it's guaranteed to make a ton of money. In fact...
Are you listening? Damn.
Also this week, just in time for Halloween, PlayStation gave us a brand new trailer for its upcoming console exclusive, Medieval. That's right, after over 20 years, Sir Daniel Fortesque is returning to consoles. According to Sean Layden, Medieval follows the story of Sir Dan, an unlikely champion who met an unfortunate end on the field of battle. He receives a chance at redemption when his nemesis, the evil sorcerer Lord Zarok, accidentally resurrects him 100 years after that fateful day. Lord Zarok seeks to conquer the kingdom of Gallowmere, and only the skeletal Sir Dan stands between Zarok's army of the undead and the kingdom he swore to protect. And speaking of PlayStation, this week also marked the arrival of the final lineup of games making their way to the PlayStation Classic. The PlayStation Classic, launching in the United States and Canada, will feature 20 classic PlayStation games. Games like Battle Arena Toshinden, Cool Borders 2, Destruction Derby, Final Fantasy VII, Grand Theft Auto, Intelligent Cube, Jumping Flash, Metal Gear Solid, Mr. Driller, Oddworld Abe's Odyssey, Rayman, Resident Evil Director's Cut, Revelations Persona, Ridge Racer Type 4, Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, Siphon Filter, Tekken 3, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, Twisted Metal, and Wild Arms. All bundled together in a complete package called Now That's What I Call Gaming, Volume 1.
Now for something completely different. Yeah.
Nintendo held another Nintendo Direct this week in which they announced the final lineup of fighters who will be joining the upcoming roster of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. The 40-minute Direct gave Switch heads and Nintendo Bros a final look at Super Smash Bros. Ultimate before it launches on December 7th. The Direct included the introduction of 2 new fighters, Street Fighter's Ken and Pokemon's Incineroar. Nintendo also announced the plans of 74 brand new amiibos for every playable character. And with the average amiibo going for $12.99 times 74 carried to, I'm gonna need to make more money. Nintendo also introduced the Fighter Pass, which includes 5 sets of content, including 5 new fighters, 5 new maps, and multiple new soundtracks for $24.99. Or gamers can buy these sets individually for $5.99. Now, with a game like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, you're going to have a few gamers who are upset that their favorite character didn't make the final roster. So I figured let's take a second to mourn the characters who didn't make the cut in a brand new segment titled In Memoriam.
Ultimate Edition!
And now for this week's top story, Blizzcon. Not to be confused with LizCon, which happens to be the largest Lizzie McGuire fan convention in the United States. Personally, I've never been, but gladly would host a few panels. Well, this year at BlizzCon, the expectations were extremely high, with many gamers speculating that we would hear announcements of a brand new Diablo game or an expansion for Overwatch. But what gamers got left them blizzed out of their mind. Blizzard started off this year's convention by announcing Diablo Immortal, a new mobile video game set between Diablo 2 and Diablo 3. Diablo Immortal was developed by NetEase Games and will bring the classic Diablo multiplayer experience to mobile devices. Overwatch fans were treated to a new short that featured McCree and 2 new in-game heroes. The first being Ashe, a Western outlaw equipped with a shotgun and an ultimate that summons her robot counterpart Bob, a robot who uses his machine gun hands to defeat his enemies. The second hero being Echo, a robot sentient being who seems to have a history with both McCree and Winston. Unfortunately, there's still no word on when these heroes might arrive in-game. Also at this year's BlizzCon, Warcraft fans had plenty to be excited about, as we got brand new announcements for Warcraft 3 and World of Warcraft. Blizzard finally gave a release window for the upcoming World of Warcraft Classic, which will be launching in the summer of 2019 and will be included with any World of Warcraft subscription. Warcraft 3 was also announced to be getting its very own remake. That's right, 16 years after the launch of Warcraft 3, Blizzard will be making the game in 4K with improved graphics and animations and user interface updates. Warcraft 3 Reforged will be launching sometime in 2019. Also at BlizzCon, Blizzard's card game Hearthstone had a new in-game expansion announced called Rostacon's Rumble. I had to Google it because I didn't know how to pronounce it properly. Hearthstone fans can expect Rostacon's Rumble to be launching on December 4th. This year's BlizzCon also saw announcements for StarCraft and Heroes of the Storm. But what was the proverbial icing on the cake is when Blizzard made an announcement for Destiny 2. That's right, Blizzard announced that it would be giving out free copies of Destiny 2 on PC between November 2nd and November 18th. And finally, for this week, we come to... That noise, of course, signifies that we are running out of time and coming close to the end of the show. So, in order to cover all the week's remaining news, we must initiate a segment that I like to call Nerfed in 60 Seconds. The rules to Nerfed in 60 Seconds are simple. Every single week we have so much news to talk about and so little time to do it. So we take all the week's remaining news, put 60 seconds on the clock, and try to cover it as fast as humanly possible without running out of breath, passing out, or dying. But in all honesty, I've been playing a lot of Red Dead lately, and I've killed a ton of horses, completely on accident, but I've probably got some karma coming my way, so fingers crossed that we can make it. So, with that in mind, let's put 60 seconds on the clock. Thunder noise! And go. No Man's Sky has launched a brand new free expansion called The Abyss that adds improvements to the oceans and the creatures that live within it. Red Dead Redemption 2 is all the world of gaming can talk about, but bet you didn't know it could run on the Vita, because I didn't know until I saw it on Reddit. Just Cause 4 has officially gone gold. Xbox has unveiled a brand new, extremely sexy red Xbox One controller, and yes please. And speaking of Xbox, we had leaked images of upcoming prototypes of Xbox controllers that attach to tablets. They look pretty cool. Hey, we got our first look at Henry Cavill in the upcoming Witcher series on Netflix. Speaking of Netflix, they announced that they will be renewing Castlevania for its 3rd season. Bryce Harper is officially the cover athlete of MLB The Show 19. Respawn has 2 games releasing in 2019, please be Star Wars, and RuneScape has a brand new mobile game. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for Nerfed in 60 seconds, and that is it for this week's episode of the show. If you like what you saw, make sure to hit that like button. If you're new here and haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel, but the most important thing you could do, share it with your friends. Take this link down below, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook. Please, it helps the channel so much. As always, my name is Bryant Chappel. You are you, and this has been the Nerf Report. Thanks for watching. Oh, also, if you want some extra credit for this week, I was invited over to Rooster Teeth and I appeared on their news channel, The Know. I've linked the videos here and also in the description down below. Definitely give them a look, comment on them, tell them I sent you there. It would be greatly, greatly appreciated.